our tribute to Jim Harrison. I want to start it with a little bit of a story about what gets us all here. And it starts when I was about 12, and I finally learned how to read. And I pulled a book off my mom's bookshelf called A Good Day to Die by a guy named Jim Harrison. And I read that book, and I was kind of fascinated by it. And I read everything that he wrote over the next 30 years or so. And eventually, after all the misadventures that a lot of us have in the world, I got to be a little bit of a writer myself. And I enrolled in the MFA program at Northern Arizona University. And I met the director of that program, a woman named Nicole Walker. She's here tonight. She's a good friend of mine. And I said, I want to get Jim Harrison to NAU. And she said, well, that's funny because I know him a little bit. My husband Eric actually filmed him back in Michigan. There are a lot of Michigan connections. Jim's from Michigan. I'm a little bit from Michigan. Nicole and Eric were teaching in Michigan. And I said, well, let's see if we can get him here. And she was like, all right, well, let me see if I can get a hold of his publicist. And the publicist wrote back, and that wasn't going to happen. And but I don't take no for an answer very well. And I'm kind of like that. And so I dinked around over this for the next 3 or 4 years, trying to figure out how to get Jim Harrison to Flagstaff, Arizona. And finally, at the beginning of this year, down at the Wagon Wheel Saloon in Patagonia, we went out for a drive looking for shrines and sort of looking to hopefully maybe to find Jim Harrison, or at least find where he hung out. I'd been told by a friend of mine, Bill Weitzel, that I might find him down in Patagonia, and that he held court in a bar down there in the afternoons. And so we drove down to Patagonia, and I got kind of lucky because every bar in town was closed except one. So I wandered into the Wagon Wheel Saloon, and we sat down, me and my friend Kristen, I think she's here tonight too. And I was sitting by the door, and I ordered a drink, and I barely started to sip on that drink when Jim Harrison came walking in. And I turned to him, I said, hey Jim, my name's Jesse. They tell you I was coming? And he looked at me, and Jim only had one good eye, and he had his cane, and he looked at me, peered at me, and he said, no, he said, they didn't tell me you were coming. He said, but if you want to talk, I'll be out back on the porch where I can smoke. You can come join me. So Jim Harrison and I and Kristen spent the afternoon out on that porch, having drinks in our parkas. It was January down in Patagonia, which is kind of up in the mountains a little bit, even though it's in the desert. And by the end of it, I hadn't really talked him into coming up here, but pretty close. I hadn't talked him into reading, but I talked him into coming up. And we had a long conversation about writing and loss and love and addiction. And I knew when he and I parted ways, I was probably never going to see him again, even though he said he'd come up. And that's how it went. And Jim left us. But I've got a whole bunch of his friends here tonight, as well as Doug, and also one of them is Doug Peacock, who's the inspiration for Edward Abbey's George Washington Hayduke, one of my literary heroes. I wanted to be Doug Peacock before I even knew who Doug Peacock was. I just liked George Washington Hayduke. And so he's here tonight, so that's quite an honor as well. And he's going to be talking about Jim and telling some stories. And Bill Van Root's here, Charlotte Lowe's here, Pamela Uschuk's going to join us by Skype, and it should be a pretty good show.